it's working. We'll see if we can go. Welcome to ACPE 2018. My name is Susan Bernard, and I'm one of the board members here. If you see anybody that has a little red flag, please track us down and let us know how the conference is going for you, if you have any questions or concerns or suggestions for next year. We are at Take Your Content Filtering to the Next Level, the cloud, and we've got Jordan Beveridge from Beaverton School District and his buddy from Lightspeed Systems.
My name isn't Buddy. Scott's cucumber buddy.
So please welcome them.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Wanted to go through a little bit how we use Lightspeed for our filtering. Right now we use it for both our Chromebooks and iPads, and soon to be moving out into Windows and all of our Macs as well, is our plan. So sort of want to walk through how we've done that with our one-to-one take-home devices and some of the choices we've made with that and some of the choices we've made since, as parents are much more involved now, being those devices are going home and they're seeing what kids are able to do on the devices. So talk through some of those things. And then, but first I'll let Scott talk a little bit about Lightspeed and sort of where they're headed and things, and then I'll get a little more nitty-gritty with what Beaverton's doing with it.
Thank you. Should I hold it or wear it?
You can.
I got a lot of stuff around my neck already.
Like a noose.
Well, yeah, like a noose. It feels like a noose. Well, my name's Scott Meeks. I am the West Coast Director for Lightspeed Systems. I also have my counterpart, Brent Dunlap. We work the West Coast together. Just to give you a reference point, I handle everybody. 5,000 students are up. Brent handles the band underneath that, so we work as a team. So if you want to have discussions with us after the fact, we'll figure out, make sure you talk to the right people. But for those of you who aren't familiar with Lightspeed Systems, we've been in the filtering space for nearly 20 years, specifically working with K-12. We've seen a lot of things come and go and changes in school environments. People having T1 lines to now we're supporting, the entire state of, is it Virginia? Or it's like 100 megs aggregate to one location, and it's gone insane. So a lot of what we're talking about and seeing in environments are the need to be able to have long-term scalability and to be able to handle SSL decryption. Now has been an issue for most environments. If you can't see where kids are going, then you can't make policy decisions. You can't report on any of it. And then a lot of you have, don't have the overhead to, manage all those traditional proxy settings that are done in inline solutions where we're talking about pack files or transparent proxy and pushing out certificates to devices. And people often ask, well, isn't there a better way? And the answer has been traditionally no. And so we're going to talk to you about what we're doing with our smart agents, what we're already doing today in Chrome, what we're doing in Windows and in Mac and PC. So just to kind of give you an overview, we see a lot of things transitioning into the cloud. That doesn't mean that we don't still have hardware-based solutions or hybrid-based solutions, because every school has a different need. Jordan's going to highlight what he's doing, utilizing cloud and utilizing a small appliance for just his iPad as a temporary solution. But what does that do for him long-term scalability-wise? So 50% of K-12 services are in the cloud. Some people are still pretty leery of the cloud, worry about student privacy and where that data is at. There's lots of things that happen in the news that kind of reinforce those fears that we have, unfortunately. But a lot of folks are making that movement. The benefits of it is obviously it's the security of it. We want to have simplification of an environment. We're not having so many different ports of entry. A lot of folks don't want things in their data center anymore. They don't want the cost of hardware that you have to change over. So how do I make a long-term scalable solution that I'm not having to reinvest in large amounts of hardware? And then the way we're doing SSL decryption, you need the analysis and the insight of your data. What are your students doing? Where are they going? What are they using it for educational purposes? Are they not? What kind of granular data can we get? The agility and experimentation of the cloud that gives us the ability to create new features, new functionalities, make changes, make necessary changes very, very quickly, because we're not having to do these huge updates on platforms of hardware. And it's much easier to write the software. Efficiency and then equity, as far as doesn't matter what kind of device you have or what kind of size your environment is, being able to have something to scale for that. Quickly, smart agents, what is this? This is a really crux of what we're doing. This is a proprietary agent. We have multiple patents pending on it, utilizing for Windows and Mac and iPads. Chromebooks, we've been already doing this for over a year. You've seen similar solutions where it's done at the user level. You just push out the extension. Most of those other solutions are only doing it on Chromebooks. Their answer for if you want to do other operating systems is restrict that Windows device down to the Chrome browser or Safari and remove it, put the Chrome browser. What we are doing is on the device before the session ever even becomes encrypted, we are seeing that data through the agent. That means we can give you all, and let me preface this. We're not proxying that data anymore. We're not doing man-in-the-middle proxy to that degree anymore. The traffic doesn't go out. We're able to make policy decisions and see, and why that matters to you is it a Google service? Can I report on it? Was it a search? Is it a Google subdomain so I can filter it properly? So what's happening in the smart agents is I'm doing SSL decryption with no man-in-the-middle proxy with a appliance, no pack files, no certificates on the device. It is truly device-based filtering. So it doesn't matter where they go. It doesn't matter what browser they use. They can use Firefox. They could use IE. They could use Edge. It doesn't matter. This is when everybody says, isn't there a better, easier way, a silver bullet? This is the silver bullet, right? How do I do it on all operating systems without having to do any of the heavy lifting of proxy? That means we can utilize the blocking bypass tools, siphon, all those kind of things. It's easy to deploy. It can't be removed. And we have a low network impact. And it's all done in the AWS cloud, so it's very secure, multiple points of entry, obviously, scalability, sustainability. So what do we get when we're doing this kind of SSL decryption? We can see all the searches. We can control YouTube. We can see all the apps and all the browsers. No proxy, no certificates, no pack files. And I say this truly. There is no one else doing this. And if these patents go through, there will be no one else to be able to do it. Hopefully, they'll pay us. Right? Isn't that the hope? But it's truly something different. Your other hardware-based solutions you're going to talk to today, you ask them, well, how are you going to do SSL decryption on all my devices? Well, we've got to do transparent proxy, and we're going to put a certificate out on every device. Okay? And then you are proxying traffic. This is not that. You'll ask other solutions, well, we can do it on Chromebooks, but there's no answer for everything else. I think you get it. We want to get back to giving you the visibility and granularity which you used to have before the world went encrypted, right? It used to be a checkbox for your filtering companies, and now it's not. It's hard. Why does it matter to you? If an administrator comes to you and asks what little Johnny's doing on the computer, if you aren't doing SSL decryption, you can't tell them. You can't see their searches. You can't block filter thumbnail images. You can't do anything. This gets back to the level of granularity and control that you want without over-blocking, and it allows you to allow things more accurately as well. Of course, when we're doing it on the device or on the user in the case of Chromebooks, it will filter the same on and off your network. It does not come back to you. You utilize whatever resource they're utilizing to get on the internet. It's being done at the user level on Chromebooks, on the device, for other types. So a lot of things that we do, and Jordan can talk more about this. He's on our advisory council. They were just in Chicago last week. ThreatCheck. This is something that's also very unique. In light of what's going on in our schools today, we have to provide you better notifications, visibility into students that come up on your radar, that you want to take a little bit deeper look in, kids that you know are having issues at home or exhibited violent behavior in the past. It's our responsibility now, not only as educators, but as providers in this space, to give you as much granularity as possible and notifications and help you identify what those users are so you can intervene and get them the help that they need. This goes to a whole nother level past notification. Did little Johnny look up a dirty picture of a girl? Yes, those are concerns for schools now. But the real issues now are, is somebody searching how to commit suicide? Are they trying to access weapons? Are they trying to get access to drugs? What are those things? So we want to provide a level of insight and give you granularity in that at a level that you have never seen before. Unfortunately, we are very close to this because the incident in Florida, that district is one of ours. And immediately after this, we convened with them, had to provide a lot of past data on that student, and then we were summoned to Washington, D.C. very quickly. And wanting to know, as we met with Kevin McCarthy and Paul Ryan, what can people like you do to help a school environment? It's a big issue. I'm not going to try to overplay it. I'll let Jordan talk about it. But this is what we're doing. We've got to give you tools and give administrators the ability to see it. And we've got to get it out of the hands of IT. You don't have time to forward every little thing you've got, right? It's not your job to manage that. It's your job to keep a network running, right? It's a principal or a dean or a school psychologist or somebody to have that data, right? And it has to be granular and easy to read. A lot of, Jordan will talk about it. This is about reporting. This is about big data. Problem with big data is it's big. We have to present it in a meaningful way that impacts you, that helps you either provide better granularity to your curriculum instruction department and what people are doing. How are they using the internet? Are you leveraging certain curriculum and instruction tools that you've paid for? Are they being used? How much? How often? So this starts getting way out of the scope, and looking at that at an individual level of content filtering as we know it. It's not about who can block the hardest anymore. It's about how much we can possibly let through safely and give you as much granularity as possible. And then from a technical side, give you scalability, and then for those any CBOs in here, affordability, right? Second part that's included in all of this is the whole classroom instruction part. We can give administrators all these tools, but it affects down at the classroom level. We've got to give teachers the ability to see their students, see what they're browsing, but more importantly, what are they browsing the most? So we all know when they walk out from behind them, they go to that other tab. We need to notify them when they've launched unusual browsing activity. We need for them to be able to communicate with them, set a status. We need to give the teachers the ability to control the internet to a certain degree in their class by saying, you know what, I'm only going to allow you to go to this one domain, this one URL. It changes the filtering policy for the students in that class. That's the only place that they can go. And then give them full reporting on their data. So we've got to do it on every device. Can't manage a bunch of different things. Right now we're doing a little bit of that. So a lot of these folks in the room, Jordan is testing out the Windows. He needs the Mac and needs the iPads as well. Jacob here at Yelm, they're using a Rocket right now, same as they are, to get them through with some other stuff. They wanted to make a change from what they had. Their plan is to go full cloud too. So that's it. That's my portion. The reality is I'm a sales guy. You're only going to believe about 38% of what I say. It's high? It's high? It's high? 17? I know, it's never an even number. So let me let you talk to somebody who's using it. And somebody who's been through bumps and bruises with us, right? And has helped us develop this. And he'll tell you, in this particular part of the country, I have a very distinct advantage over anybody else in this space because of where my dev team for this product lives. It's close. So I'll let Jordan tell you his experience. That's the big flyover for me, but let's listen to a guy who's actually doing it.
Can I ask a question?
You can, yes. Question time.
As far as the E-rate program goes, have you guys attempted to get approval for that?
No, because E-rate is going to be based upon hardware. Most software is not E-rateable. We can't.
Right, but have you attempted to make it E-rateable?
No, and we won't because we can't. Because they're going to change the rules of E-rate anyway.
Yeah.
And a software is not. Content filtering in general, unless it's in your appliance, unless you're using a UTM, is not E-rateable. It has to be a network-based solution.
And it's only 50% of eligible.
Yeah, at best.
Oh. All right, so I'll go through a little more in depth into some of the decisions we've made and some of the experiences we've had both with product and then with parents and everybody. So first was why we chose Relay. At first, we were getting ready to go to one-to-one Chromebooks from 6 through 12, and we were sending those home. And originally, our cabinet said, no, you know what? It's the parents' responsibility once they're home. We're not going to filter once they leave our network. And so that's where the road we were going down. And then we had an incident right at the end of the school year of a parent at one of our schools reporting, ended up getting to the news about a kid getting to something inappropriate or what they thought was inappropriate. And they changed their mind very quick. And by the time they changed their mind, we were already quite a ways down the road, and now we had about 2 months to figure out, okay, now we have to have filtering at home because they want that, so now what are we going to do? And so, and what we found internally too is our Palo Alto, though a great firewall, its filtering leaves something to be desired as far as the amount of categories it has and how intricate you can get with those without having to just manually start blocking URLs and all kinds of things. So as these devices now sit with the kids all the time, there's a lot more they can do on them. And so we were looking for that. We wanted, our timeline was tight, so the cloud was looked good to us as far as not having to get hardware in and get it set up and configured and all of those things, that we could just push out our extensions to the devices. We liked, they were offering something for iOS at that time. We would have to use a hardware piece for that. We had a small number of iPads going home, and so that was good that at least we had some type of system that could still do that for us. Basically the same setup and configuration. And then we did want the classroom component. We weren't ready to deploy that right away out of the gate, but we knew we were going to want that because we were always getting asked about that, and we didn't want to end up with schools sort of going out on their own. So we knew we wanted to provide something for them. So we wanted to have that sort of in our back pocket that we could move to their classroom system as well and have that all integrated. So that's sort of why we ended up with Lightspeed. As Scott mentioned, we did have some bumps at the beginning on their original. It wasn't their relay product. It was their previous cloud sort of service, which was really a hosted appliance for us. And so we worked with them on that. And as soon as Relay came out, we started testing with them on that, and it was just a world better. And so we went from, we're going to take the rest of the school year, the last couple months, and tried it at a couple schools, to in 2 weeks we had the whole district switched over, because it was just, we can see already just how much better this is working, that we just switched the entire district over to using Relay on all the Chromebooks. So since then it has been rock solid and great to work with. As far as configuration, I'm going to actually jump out and jump into some of those things. I don't know how much I'll actually use my slides. So as far as reporting and stuff, one of the things that really helps us, this is one of the new dashboards they released just in the last few months. I've used this quite a bit, and especially what top websites kids are going to that we get every day. So this is yesterday in our system. The top, we had 2.5 million websites that went out from about 25,000 users on the Chromebooks yesterday. And it's nice to show, we only ended up blocking about 8,000 web pages out of 2.5 million views. When we start talking to principals and stuff about, oh gosh, we need to block this more, when you start really diving into the data, 99% plus of our kids are doing the right things. And so it becomes much easier to have that conversation of let's deal with that 1% that's not with digital citizenship and actually dealing with those students rather than blocking everybody. And so in dealing with that, and then also looking at the return of investment on just the top websites, I conglomerate those fairly frequently and say, okay, over the last week, here's the sites kids went to most often. And it's always our top sites. Those top 10, it's Google Drive, Canvas, it's Dreambox, it's all the things we want them. Yeah, YouTube's in there, but we also have a lot of teachers using YouTube in the classroom. So YouTube's in that top 10, but all the other top 10 are our Student View, Newsella. It's all those things, and to actually show how many kids each week or month actually went to those services, and that's just on our Chromebooks, not alone what they're doing in labs and things. And that's why it'll be nice to get all of our OSs on it, so that we can actually get what's happening across the board. But just with our Chromebooks, we're seeing kids are using them for what we want them to use them for. They're using them like this. You get an education right there. Of those 2.5 million sites, 43.8 were classified as educational domains. And so that's good to see that they're getting that, and we're getting our return on our investment. Some of the configuration things that we're actually doing. So we can categorize by level, and though we can do it by every school if we wanted to, I don't want to manage that, so I sort of tell schools we're not doing that. We do it by level. So we have sort of an elementary level set, we have a middle school level set, and we have a high school level set. And that way we make choices on all the categories. An example again on our Palo Alto, we have like 50 choices we can make on categories. We have over 150 in Lightspeed. Good example of that is gaming. There's educational games. There's just sort of playing games that fun, whatever, and then there's mature games. And so we have those three categories. I don't have that in my internal filter on Palo Alto. So the way we've done that with gaming is at elementary and middle school, they are blocked from mature games all the time, of course. Educational games are always open, but regular games that sort of sit in that middle level, they're blocked while they're at school, but when they're at home, they can get to them if they want to. So if they want to play a game at night on the Chromebook, fine, not a problem. But during the class and during the school day, we block that during the school day. And so there's after school rules in the system that you can set different filtering for when you can either do it based on time or by IP range. And so we use the IP range. It makes it a little easier. That way if they're home sick or it's a shortened day or, all those always work for us. Just use to show that if they're on our network, they can't get to certain things. If they are off our network, it's fine. They can go to those. Video rules have been really big. I'll jump into one of those and actually show that to you. Dive into an elementary. So they've come out now with, so we have specific rules for YouTube down below that we can, of course, we use both systems and it's been sort of nice. I'll show you another piece. So we've struggled with Google and the Chromebooks. Of course, we force them that they have to, they are required to log into their Chromebooks with a school district account. They can't log into anything else, but over time, we continue to battle that they could get into YouTube and then log out of YouTube and log back in with another account. And there's different ways you can block that, and we've done that in G Suite and tried it, but then you have those other systems that use Google as an authentication, and if you totally block getting to accounts.google, it makes it very hard for some of those other systems to authenticate through Google to get on. So we've battled that back and forth. What's helped us now, Lightspeed actually added their own system that keeps them from going into any other domain as well on the device. Logged into the Google services, so that keeps them from logging out of YouTube. And so we can do those things just with the general. We can force safe search here as well. That way, if there's any issue that for some reason on the Chrome side they're able to get around something, Lightspeed's helping us enforce that as well. On the YouTube controls, you can force restricted mode as well here. You can hide the thumbnails, hide comments, do all of those things. And I think we probably will start hiding the comments at the elementary. We haven't turned that on yet, but I think we will fairly soon here. But we also know we have a lot of, especially at the middle and high school, where they have kids actually creating content and posting it to channels, and teachers do that, and they have kids commenting back and forth. So, but at the elementary, they're really not doing that, at least with us now. So we'll probably turn that on. Smart Play is a feature that they've added that we have on at the elementary, and we really started using it on the iPads. The problem on the iPads is they're not logged in, and so it's hard to apply which filter setting to get them. They get the elementary filter. It's also hard to enforce Google Safe Search and some of those other things, so Lightspeed helps with that. But the Smart Play is actually their own database of educational-based videos that they keep just massive. How many are in it now?
Yeah,
50?
it's, oh my God, I mean, it's always growing by millions and millions. It's like 50 or 60 million. They're websites that we've seen that we know are based in education. We get feedback, and if people make exceptions in other, in our solutions, we see that it feeds back in the database. The big difference in this is that it blocks natively in YouTube. Doesn't matter what you're using, it's on this program. So that means instead of going to a third-party URL or you put a repository, you put sites in like that, they can go to YouTube and we'll throw block, like, we have blocked image and a circle next to it. We'll throw those little videos that we do not have allowed for education. If you have YouTube wide open for your older kids and stuff, it's going to probably be too restricted. But if you have your elementary users and you don't have YouTube introduced in all of your environment, this is a very clean, very safe way for them to get into YouTube, have access to it, and do it natively in YouTube, not some other funky way. Can I explain it?
And the problem at the elementary is the nice part is it looks a little bit like when you see Google Safe Search get blocked too with something, and it covers up the thumbnails and sort of X's them out. The Smart Play does that within YouTube, so even though they may not be able to get to the video because of restricted mode, the thumbnail's bad enough at the elementary level, and that's what we had parents complaining about. So that's when we started using Smart Play first on our iPads, because that was much harder to control than we could control it on the Chromebooks. But now we're turning it on the Chromebooks as well.
Is there a way to log in on the iPads to find out who the students are?
The plan on the relay side, what we've been told, we haven't tested it yet, is you sort of have a choice. So we can either push that they're going to have to be at that lowest level of filtering, or there's basically a portal that you can force the student to log in.
The other option is if you're utilizing with iPads, if you're utilizing an MDM, and you have those devices associated to a user, that information can be pulled out. As we know, iPads aren't directory visible, so we have to either get that data from either that they've been associated to it, they're one-to-one, you can pull it out of your MDM or our MDM, or Jamf, or whatever you're using. That way, when a user is reporting, we get it on the user that's associated with that user. We also support the Apple shared iPad, their shared version of it. Either that or Captain Portal or things like that. So you can only get user authentication with the domain from the machine or from the user, right? So you can't do the domain from an iPad. So you have to get it from the user, either tied to an MDM or through a Captain Portal. That's the nature of iPad.
Good point. Most of ours are carded, so that's
right.
The problem. And then it's thinking through how often does it sort of reset that. Mm-hmm. But if it's one-to-one, then it'd be nice to get it just from the MDM.
Cards are one-to-one.
Right. And like I said, there's thousands of settings in here. I've tried to pick out the ones that I thought most people would probably be more interested in, or the areas that we have the most search terms. Again, this came up more on the iPads than it did on the Chromebooks because we could enforce safe search and some of those other things more efficiently on the Chromebooks. Creating that list of just sort of terms, we had parents coming in and saying, well, why are they allowed to even search this? And so we've approached that from two ways. One, we've been able to implement that list of bad words at the elementary that just, let's just not let them search it. Again, if they can get to the thumbnails is bad enough. They may not be able to get to the website, but again, it was the thumbnail issue that it's bad enough for a second grader to just see the thumbnail. So let's just stop them from doing that. So we have put the search term piece in a myriad of languages. And so we have that. If anybody uses this or whatever, I'm happy to share the list out. Not a great list of things. But so that is in there. Device Detective we also use for reported lost or stolen devices. Allows us to turn that on and get a general vicinity of the device based on the Wi-Fi connections it's able to make. That's been helpful. Honestly, it's been more helpful in the ones that have been reported lost, that when we turn it on, they're in the building. And so it's like, well, probably look a little harder because it's on and it's showing up in the building. And so let's go find it. You know, it shows it's about here. Let's go find that. So it's honestly been more than that than the, hey, it's out somewhere in the community or something like that. But it is nice to have that if you need it. Some of the other things we do within the system, social media, it's actually broken out. You can block the whole category, but they also have, you can turn on specific ones at a time if you would like to do that. The way we've done it in more mass scale, so at the high school, social media is turned on. At middle school and elementary, it's turned off. And that's just where we've decided to do that with our principals and community.
You have a read-only option too. Can't post, can't do anything, that you can just see. Some schools use their Facebook page but don't want people to see it, but they don't want them interacting with it or with any social media in general. We all know that you're going to go off your Wi-Fi and go to the phone and do whatever they want anyway. They're on the network.
And so those are just right here, so you can just turn those on individually, those main ones, or you can deal with the entire category as well. So
we had a group of students that were reporting, and they said, we don't use that Facebook. We use that something.
Oh yeah, they don't use Facebook. It's all Snapchat. So that's where we made this instant messaging. We sort of in the middle on that too. So it's blocked at elementary, except for Google Hangouts. So we do allow Hangouts at the elementary through our Google apps with the idea that we have access to all that information and can pull that data if needed, if it comes up. And so it's a nice little more protected system that we can do if things come up, use it as a learning opportunity. But as a category, it's blocked. At the elementary, at middle school, it is open, and at high school, it is open. We do block a few very specific ones, but other than that, the category is open. That's just where we've sort of found our level on that. Sort of another reporting piece. Actually, I'll jump in. I'll go ahead and show you a student. That's just because it's mine. So this is my son. Pulling up. Oh, anything bad yet? All right. He just started coding class at school, so he's looking at Python stuff. This is when you just go look at a student in the system. When you first click on them, you get just sort of this summary view pops out. How much are they using the device? What's again almost that same report we looked at before is at the student level. So that gives you a nice snapshot. What are their websites? Do they have any flagged items, flagged terms, which I haven't talked about yet? So flagged terms allow you, I'll talk a little more in the safety security, but they allows you just to set certain terms and it'll flag in the system. You have choice to set alerts on those, or it's just almost like a scoring system. If they get too many flag terms, you see which kids sort of rise to the top and so forth.
Without him clicking through everything, obviously, to look at all their searches individually, all their YouTube videos they watch, anything that's been blocked, and anything that's been allowed traffic, assets, Google Docs, things are locked out of categories. There's a lot of granularity in that. We all give that because of the SSL decryption, right? Okay.
I see that you can share here. How much do you end up sharing this information?
Quite a bit now. It keeps growing. Both with school administrators and stuff as things come up or they're having issues with a student. Both technology-wise and non-technology directed, they've found this this gives a pretty big window into what these students are doing and what's going on in their lives. I would say we do, so we have 40,000 students. I would say we do about 10 every 2 weeks student reports for various reasons. That we send those out. This share button's actually really cool. It's newer in the system. We had other ways of sharing reports before, but as we kept talking with them, as Scott mentioned, the programmers are in Portland, so we get to talk to them every once in a while and give some feedback and stuff. So this is sort of an example of them showing a thing. When you hit that, you get a choice. It basically creates a link that you can just send to an administrator rather than having to export a report and email it to them and, do they understand it and that. You basically get that same window that you're sending to them for whatever date range you pick. It creates the link. You can copy that. You can preview it, and you can tell how long when that expires. So that information goes away and it can't be viewed anymore. It works really nice. This is, my understanding is where the parent report is somewhat like this. I could ship this to a parent too. The parent report that's emailed out, that can be set up to be emailed out, looks a little different now. My understanding is they're heading more toward this with the parent report as well. So this is the page then that they get when you go to that. Again, shows their activity. The parent report also includes after hours use. It sort of breaks it up into 4 quadrants: school day, before school, school day, after hours, and late night. And so it is able to show how much they're using their device at different times of the day.
And I was just going to say that if you click on the website history tab too, you can, as a parent, you can get very granular. You can see, searches that your kid has searched, allowed.
So you can get the allowed report, blocked report, Google Documents they went to, or other documents, searches, which YouTube videos, and it's not just the long URL, it's actually the name of the video and the link, so you can link right directly out to it.
This is what you got from the link.
Blocked searches.
Yeah, we have the link. It's not just like a picture of that. It's clickable data, right?
So you can drill down into those things, which is nice.
And did you say you're sending these to parents now or only by request?
So right now, so I'll jump into the parent thing. It's a perfect lead into that. This is a newer feature. We've been testing it. Our plan right now, so I guess I'll back up into before one-to-one. In 15 years of running IT departments, I think I'd had maybe 2 discussions with parents about what our filtering was. That number has gone up astronomically now that these devices are in their home and they're trying to do searches on it, or they're seeing their kids went to something and they don't feel like it's appropriate or not. With more insight always comes more questions, which is good and bad. And so right now our plan this next year, we've been testing these last 5 months with it, with just a few people. And we've started, our plan for next year is really to do it by choice, really those parents that are very concerned about it. And 2, any students that go onto a stat plan or are working through issues at the school that there's concern about their safety or different things, what we can do, it can be 1, offered to the parent, and 2, so there's right now 2 columns. You can set 2 email addresses for the reports to go to. We're reserving the first one for parents, and we're reserving the second one for school personnel. So if we want to send it to the social worker at the school on a weekly basis for them to get that report, rather than having to go look for it, they'll just get the email of the link to go see that report or the report itself. So that's how we're doing it now for this next school year, most likely. As it gets More automated as well we use Clever to sync. That was one of the other reasons we chose it. The classroom portion of it is syncable with Clever, and I don't know where the vendors are at with that now, but at that time they were the only ones that had that option to sync that classroom data if we wanted to use the classroom portion of it with Clever. We were already using Clever for other things, and so we should be able to do. They've been looking at being able to do which parents want that. Down the road, we may look at trying to add that into our online registration portal if we would want that. But I do have concerns about that. As a parent gets to drill down into every website that the kid's ever gone to, I can see some of those parents, those conversations are just going to escalate more. And so I think we have to find out where that balance is going to lie with that, just because it honestly boggles my mind a little bit right now thinking about just the change from kids just having one-to-one and them seeing once in a while a site that maybe they don't approve of or a video they don't approve of their kid watching, to them being able to look at every piece of data that the kid's ever done on that device.
It's a hot button issue. There's folks out there that really want to give the parents all the control and control what they say at home and give them all this thing. It's opt in and then they get the stuff and then they can control and they can go through an API, they can do all this. My question is, for some of those solutions out there doing that, do you meet the student data privacy issue? Okay. We all know this. You get the right parents saying the right stuff at the right time at a cabinet meeting, new policies can just appear out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And sometimes technology departments will make snap judgments and find some solutions to good things. There's some bigger questions we want to ask. Before we start doing where parents can control and see everything, you have to address the question, do you want that conversation? What's that going to open up for you? Best intentions. We want to communicate with their parents. We want them to see what their kids are doing. We want to be transparent. Well, what does that lead to? And the second part is if you're going to start doing this kind of stuff with student interaction and access to content and their data and what they're doing, where is that data going, right? If you're looking at solutions that are doing this kind of thing, where does that data go? Where is their services hosted? Is it going out to India? Does it go down to Mexico? Where does it go? Do they meet all the privacy standards? Not just the United States, do they meet them internationally? Because the international policies in Europe, which we have to be beholden and meet those standards too, and they're far more stringent than what the U.S. standards are today. So whenever you're looking at a cloud-based solution and you are seeing things, or you're looking at some of that that teacher, student, parent data share, you really need to be diligent about asking them where that data goes and how it's handled. It may not be an issue for you today, but it's an issue that if it does happen, it's a big issue. So just be wary of those kind of solutions. Make sure that they're meeting those standards. It's really important. It's rarely talked about.
And kind of reversing back, I know you asked the question about that shareable link. I had a customer evaluating the product just last week, and within a week of putting it in place, they had a student say, "How do I kill myself?" And they got the notification, and that shareable link was sent to the principal and the guidance counselor. They were able to go in and kind of investigate and be able to, take action on that flag term. So it's very easy to, first get the notification, which it looks like you're going to talk about, and then secondly, get that data into the people's hands who need it at that moment. And so it's pretty powerful when they saw it all kind of work together.
So even without ThreatCheck coming, which as we talk about that, and I'll talk about more in a little bit, there are flagged terms in here, and you have sort of two choices. Right now, we've made the choice, do you want to see they've gone to a page and the term exists on that page somewhere, or did they actually type the page in? And so that's the other pull down. If I pull it down and select it, I guess if I don't select it, it won't change it. So is it user input or is it page content as you're looking for those? We've tried both a little bit. We've stuck with page content because if they're searching for things consistently that end up with these things on them. Now, we've made the choice right now, I don't have any of the sort of safety concern of the ThreatCheck things that we would be looking for in here. And as we looked at that, and we're going to try out ThreatCheck as one of sort of the beta schools that's been on the committee looking at how to build this. Our concern was that, and what I said was, okay, we have this option. I can put kill myself in here. And if that's on a page, or if the kid actually typed it in, whichever way we want to choose that, it'll pop up. It'll alert. And I can choose to send that email somewhere. And so my question was, one, who you want me to send that to? Okay? And so one, you need to know that, and then two, what are you going to do with that? What's the expectation of that person? And we haven't, we never got past that sort of hurdle yet. And so that is not on in here. Now with ThreatCheck, as they're building that, the idea is to get that actually to the right people in the building, not at the district level. And so that will help a lot with that. But even with that, we've already started now having those more in-depth conversation with our public safety office, with our district council, our risk management team. We're a self-insured school district, and so we have a risk management department that handles that, and then our curriculum department, our schools. And so what should be that process? Because if you're going to be doing those things, you better have a really good process. And some people have been concerned about, well, does this possibly identify kids or falsely identify kids? And that's what we're trying to work through, so it doesn't do that at all. But my thing on that is that's really more about the policies and procedures and workflow you're going to have after this has alerted you, and how they're going to use that information. And you better have a good process in place for, one, receiving that, marking that it's been reviewed, and finally, that you have a process in place that students can get help. And I think we need to do that. I think it's really scary, and I've had those moments. Luckily, I haven't had to deal with it's gone through with it, but I've had the runaway that we're looking for, that when I go pull their history, I'm worried. It's bad, And if that data's sitting in here, gosh, it'd be really nice to do something with it and get kids help when they need it. And so that's what we're trying to figure out as they build out ThreatCheck, is how to do that best. For flag terms, you can do any term you want right now. Right now, we're just using it for kids to self-identify if they're trying to look at how to get around the filter, or look up Chromium or those type of things. And if they're searching these terms enough, they rise to the top. My sysadmin grabs the last few from like 2 weeks. Hey, these kids that are at the top, what they've been doing? Oh, yep, they found another little Google hole or Chrome hole or something, and now we've blocked that. So we use it sort of a way for them to self-identify themselves if they're trying to get around things right now at this point.
So is this system tied into the student system, or when you say an automatic email to where the student is in the district?
It is. It's tied. So it's tied both to our Google instance, and it receives some information from there, and it's tied to our student information system through Clever, and that's how it does all the classroom pieces. So it has both school, their class, teacher, down to that level, because that's how it has to make the classroom orchestrator work. The classroom piece, haven't really talked about that much because of the filtering, but teachers have loved that. That's been a huge win. We've tried to, as Scott said, there's some educational pieces to it. We've tried to get them over the hump that's just about watching kids and playing gotcha with them. And I think the new version of it is even better for that, because it highlights more of those educational pieces. You still get that they can see their screen or get the really nice thing. Sort of all of those systems are built on, well, I can see all your screens. Well, that means I have to be sitting there watching all of those screens to find out anything. and thus it's not great use of teacher time. So with this, with the new version, what we really like is that it's actually looking at what the majority, it's sort of learning and looking at what the majority of the class is doing. So if the majority of everybody's in Google Drive and now I see some kid popping off to YouTube, it's actually going to alert that, hey, some of these kids are going over here. This kid's doing something very different from what the rest of the group's doing, and it actually alerts rather than my having to notice the screen has changed or is flipping back and forth between tabs. So it actually alerts that kid that, hey, I want to go look at that kid, not have to watch all of them all the time. And then I can send them URLs, I can share screens, I can do all those other things that are a little more teaching involved, send a message, do those type of things. So
who gets the alert? I mean, the student is doing something, it generates a report, somebody's have to be... Right
now, with flagged terms, you would just pick a person for that term to get the alert.
Okay.
If it's ThreatCheck, what we've been talking about with them is it has to go to the school. We have to have intricate enough security in it that I can say, okay, these people at the school can get to reports on kids. They don't have to ask me anymore. They can get to reports for their school, their kids, if they need to see that. I need another group that has ThreatCheck capability, and I can see those kids in ThreatCheck and get the alert that, hey, a kid's been added to the list, that somebody needs to look at them, they've been doing something. The other piece that's nice with ThreatCheck that they've added, put in there, is that if, there's a lot of other things they're doing at school, so we identify kids lots of ways that a kid needs some intervention, and that they go into our first level stat plan and second level. We can add kids to the list ourselves and say, hey, we need to look at this kids, and we can actually mark, and that's where we're having some discussions, should we or not, or just mark them that, hey, they need to be on the list. But you can help the system out and actually tell it, hey, this kid's a concern of self-harm. This kid's a concern of violence to others. This kid's a concern for whatever reason, or just an other. And it's sort of a slider, what scale of concern is there? Is it sort of light to severe? And that sort of adds to their sort of score of that they need to be looked at or not. And so we can add our own data to it to help the system look for those things.
Just the web activity, little Johnny exhibited violence, that they can make a notation. In order to get what we're trying to accomplish with ThreatCheck, it can't be all us in a piece of technology. It's people, right? It's teachers, it's administrators, it's counselors. We have to be able to also notate real-world event. Johnny brought a knife to school on this day. This is a severe incident. Johnny pushed another kid on this day. This is a lesser severe. When you start looking at, this is about identifying at-risk kids. It's not about profiling kids. This isn't about all that kind of stuff, which is a concern. Yeah. It's about identifying behavior and identifying kids that need help. Because a lot of these kids have issues at home that people know about. Most of these kids you already are aware of. We just want to be able to holistically put together a bigger picture, right? You have your risk management, your security management, your school counselors. How do we help put a bigger picture together and tie the people that need to be, that are stakeholders in that, and give them as much as they can? So your question, who gets it? Who do you want to get? It isn't a you're asking them how they do it.
It's a responsibility
Sure.
At one point that,
Right.
or a liability that it sits on somebody's email or something.
Yeah.
It takes
Sure.
overnight to read it. Oops.
Well, and that's the point of
something
ThreatCheck,
happened.
right? Is to start identifying these kids to show you, because there are lots of times, and it breaks my heart when I say it, but there's lots of school districts I talk about, and I talk to the IT guy. I'm trying to talk about content filtering. Who does that get shuffled down to? It gets shuffled down the network admin, right? Yeah, you do the demo. I'm not going to look at it. He doesn't care about those notifications. All he cares about is it's not going to go to me, right? So that really, and I get it, and that's not a knock on him. That's like, what else are you supposed to do besides, there's only 4 of you in your department, you got 20,000 kids, this huge network. How am I going to manage everything else? So for us, it's about getting that content out of the right people, because he made a great point. If the data's all in there and nobody looked at it, right, that's not good. right? But at the same time, it can't be the network admin's job to look through every single little thing that goes through the don't have time. So how do we get it down to where it matters? And I think that's what we're constantly massaging. Anybody wants to be a part of our, you don't have to be a customer to be part of our ThreatCheck and Security Advisory Council. We had a meeting, Chicago last week, 30 some odd districts, maybe half of them were customers, maybe a bit more. If you want to be a part of it and help shape this, we'd love to have you. But this is a new thing, it's a new phenomenon, right? How do we all manage this together through technology, through your departments, and through software?
And sort of on that point too, the other thing we had asked for is there's got to be some review, like CheckOff, that okay, that was sent to this person. Now they've actually gone in the system and they're marking that okay, yeah, I've reviewed this. It's been, it's basically been dealt with. It's now a school issue and it's been reviewed as a mark off. The last thing, just to talk about it, I thought you might understand. So there, it has another piece. It's different from Device Detective. It's called Tracker. And so what the Tracker does, we do not have it turned on all the time. We just haven't crossed that bridge. We definitely have to talk with community about that. But of course, then you deploy a different extension to the devices, and it will actually report back location, again, based on Wi-Fi. Our Chromebooks don't have GPS in them. But it does a pretty good job. Now, the way we use that right now is in safety, security type items. If we get a request from, most often has been runaways. They've run away, they've taken their device with them. At that point, we deploy it. And then if they do turn on their device and connect to the internet, it will deploy at that point and start reporting to us where the device is located. Or we've had some just that we don't know where the kid is, we're worried about them, they've been depressed, those things. So we have used it in that way. The piece of it is we're deploying it after the notification to us that something's going on. And so that's just what we've decided to do with it. You could work, if your community was interested in that, it's something we could turn on, and that may come up down the road more. With ThreatCheck thing too, you could choose to turn it on for those kids that you're actually trying to look at and monitor them in that way with approval from other people. But that is another piece of the system that's in there, but that's how we're using it right now. We just got a couple minutes that sort of just touches the very tip of all the stuff in here, but tried to highlight the things I thought you'd be more interested in that were frequently asked about by parents or community or other IT departments. More than happy to talk anytime if you want, or you want to see it. I have, the way we have it set, I have one of our Chromebooks here that I can log in as an elementary student and sort of see it in action if you want. Just catch me and we can play around with it.
Decision as to what to filter, not to filter.
We do a little bit of a sliding scale. If we think something's actually categorized incorrectly, so first it goes to my Google admin and some of the network group. There's about 5 or 6 of them that help support. If they get that ticket and they actually look at it and think it's actually miscategorized, they have a nice reporting portal, and it's usually just a couple hours, and they've recategorized it if it's truly wrong. If it's not, then we have the choice of recategorizing it ourselves or putting it on a so we can actually recategorize it, or we can put it on an unblock list. You can do it either way. And then if there's really a question, it comes up to me then. I look at it. If I feel like it's questionable or not, then we have a little group within between me and teaching and learning that I sort of pose the question to and sort of give them the plus minus of whatever that side is or whatever, and they sort of give me a little bit of a vote between the group, and I make the decision then based on that. So hasn't come up a lot. Most things are more clear cut. It's more, if we're toggling big switches in here, then we sometimes go to the principal group of that level and sort of say, here, here's plus minus. Do you want to do this? Do you want to leave Hangouts open? Do you not want to leave Hangouts open? Do you want to open certain things or not? And then we make those decisions that way.
So on pricing, is this the package or each one of these little components?
That's my part. So no, it's all packaged. So listen, you've seen Chromebook solutions. Anybody here using GoGuard? Okay. So you have admin side price, teacher side one price. Ours is one thing. You gotta have both, right? We don't feel like they're separate products. If you wanted to buy just the teacher side, you could buy just the teacher side. You buy Relay, it comes with the teacher side. So we sell it several ways. They did a life of device, basically, or equivalent up to 4 to 5 years, but we could do 1 year, 2 years. A lot of districts are choosing to do a life of device license. That when, especially if they're starting their Chrome deployments or device deployments, you buy a license, you put it with the device. It's a one-time thing. It's easier to budget that. Usually, it comes out of a different bag of money than it does out of the technology department.
If you're interested in price, how about we give them our card?
Well, she has specific questions. So I was just telling her. So pricing. Let's say this: if you're interested, we didn't scan you. We're not going to bombard you with emails. If you will stand at the door. If you want my card and you want to talk and do a demo or do a whatever thing, Brent and I, we'll do it.
We provide evaluations if you want to test it out for a couple weeks, pricing. State contract?
Yeah, well, yeah, we don't own them typically personally, but we have lots of vendors who purchase through their own state contracts. Catalog contracts, CDWs, SHIs, whoever that is. Chromebook in a kiosk mode, we were talking about today.
No.
It's a Chrome function. They can't.
Kiosk mode is only good for one app.
Yeah, you cannot load extensions in kiosk modes.
For public session kiosk, you can't put it in that.
And that's a Google.
That's a Google issue.
So anybody else, like I said, we'll stand over here. Thank you for your time. Thank Jordan for sharing.